There's a truth I carry burned into my soul, one I never imagined I'd have to speak aloud. It's the kind of secret that eats you from the inside, turning your reflection in the mirror into that of a stranger. And the most terrifying part isn't the act itself, but the part of me that, in the quietest, darkest moments, doesn't entirely regret it. Don't judge me yet. Not until you've heard the full storm, not just the thunder that announces it. This isn't the story you think it is. It's far more twisted, far more dangerous, and God forgive me, more human than anyone could imagine. It all began, as these things often do, not with a bang, but with a whisper, the whisper of a life unraveling at the seams. My name is Elena, and for 18 years my identity had been carved in stone. David's wife, Lucas's mother. They were the pillars of my world, a world of punctual dinners, neatly ironed shirts, proud smiles at graduations, and an increasingly deep, resonant silence in the space between my side of the bed and David's. Love hadn't left with a slammed door. It had slowly bled out, drop by drop, in 1,000 small indifferences, in conversations that were nothing more than to-do lists, in the feeling that we were two excellent roommates raising an exceptional child. Lucas, my boy with clear eyes and a shy smile. He was the thread of light holding my universe together. Everything I did for him. Until the day he started looking at me in a way that wasn't to the look of a child. It was after David left. Not with drama, but with a sigh. One ordinary afternoon after 20 years, he said, "I don't think we're happy anymore, Elena." And instead of sobbing or begging, I felt a relief so immense and so guilty it nearly choked me. He moved into an apartment across town. Lucas, who was 17 then, withdrew. He was angry with his father, yes, but also in a way I couldn't understand. He seemed angry with me. He grew distant, spending hours locked in his room. And when our eyes met across the dinner table, I felt an intensity in his gaze, a burning kind of reproach that left me bewildered. I told myself it was pain, teenage confusion mixed with the fallout of divorce. I opened the door wide. "Let's talk, Lucas, please. Tell me what's wrong." But he would only shake his head, those eyes so much like mine piercing me with a depth that raised goosebumps on my skin. Everything changed the night of his 18th birthday. His father came to dinner, an awkward, painfully polite gathering. David left early, and Lucas, who had drunk more than he should, collapsed onto the sofa. I sat beside him, stroked his hair the way I had 1,000 times since he was small. "My boy is a man now," I whispered, more to myself than to him. That was when he opened his eyes. There was no drowsiness in them, only a cold, devastating clarity. He grabbed my wrist with a strength I didn't know he possessed. His touch wasn't a son's. It was rough, claiming. "Stop calling me that," he said, voice low, an eerie adult echo in my son's mouth. "I'm not your boy." "I haven't been your boy for a long time." I tried to pull away, a nervous laugh rising. "Lucas, honey, you're drunk? Come on, let me help you to bed." He sat up abruptly, bringing his face close to mine. The air thickened, heavy as velvet. I could feel the heat of his breath. "Don't you see, Mom?" The word mom sounded almost sacrilegious, loaded with something dark and forbidden. "Don't you see that all of this," he gestured vaguely at the house at me, "has been for you, for us?" A glacial chill ran down my spine. "What are you talking about?" "Dad," he spat the word. "He made you unhappy. He made you small." I saw it all. I protected you from his coldness, from his absences. Do you think I didn't hear you crying in the shower? That I didn't notice you staring out the window like you were waiting for your real life to begin? His voice cracked not from sadness, but from a fierce, consuming passion. "I was here. I've always been here. And now he's gone, exactly where he should be." My heart pounded so hard I felt it in my temples. "Lucas, that's not right." "He's your father." Our marriage problems were never your business. Everything about you is my business, he snapped. And for the first time, I saw the fury, the fire burning beneath his calm surface. I've loved you since I could think, not as a son. Never just that way. I've waited. I've waited to be old enough, strong enough, so you'd look at me and not see a child, so you do finally see me. The world blurred. The room, the furniture, the family photos on the mantel, everything dissolved into meaningless smears of color. I felt nauseous, a moral vertigo that made me clutch the arm of the sofa. You have to stop, I said, my voice barely a thread. This is madness. Tomorrow, you won't even remember what you said, and we'll pretend it never happened. He released my wrists, but his gaze caged me. Oh, I'll remember, and so will you, because it's the truth. And because I know you don't look at me like a child anymore. I've seen it. I've felt it. I stumbled to my feet, retreating as if he carried a plague, as if I did. Go to your room, Lucas, now. He stood, straightened, and suddenly I realized how much he had grown. He towered over me by nearly a head. He was no longer the child I could carry in my arms. He was a man with a dangerous, obsessive light in his eyes. Without another word, he turned and walked up the stairs. I stayed on the sofa trembling, my wrists burning where his fingers had been, wondering if I had dreamed it, if my own loneliness and starving heart had conjured this perverse nightmare. But it wasn't a dream. It was only the beginning. The next morning, he came down as if nothing had happened, poured cereal, asked about my plans with casual ease. His normalcy was more terrifying than his confession. It was as if he had opened a floodgate, released the truth, and now could wait patiently, eternally, for me to drown in it. And I froze. Who could I tell? A therapist? Good morning. My son confessed he's in love with me. His father? Hey, David. The son we raised together wants me in a way no son ever should. It would have been a nuclear bomb dropped on a family already in ruins. It would have destroyed Lucas forever. So I convinced myself it was a drunken slip, trauma from the divorce. That if I ignored it, it would fade like a bad dream. But Lucas did not ignore it. He began a silent, insidious campaign. Small acts that to any outsider would look like exceptional filial devotion, yet I knew the intent behind every one. He cooked elaborate dinners on weekends, dishes he had researched for hours, and insisted we eat by candlelight. To create atmosphere, he'd say with a half smile that made my stomach twist. He started wearing the cologne I had once bought David, the one Lucas used to mock as old-fashioned. His physical presence became constant, deliberate. He'd walk around shirtless after working out, muscles gleaming with sweat, and I, God forgive me, felt a shameful jolt of awareness at his youthful strength, his beauty, an awareness that filled me with self-loathing. He bought me gifts, a book of Neruda's love poems, a vinyl of a band I adored and he had never listened to. Each gift a coded message. I study you. I know you. I worship you. And the most terrifying thing was that he truly did know me. David had never known I loved Neruda. David had never looked at me the way Lucas did now, with absolute, devouring attention, as though every word I spoke was scripture. In my deep, aching loneliness, that attention was a sweet, lethal poison. He began to anticipate my moods. You're sad today, he'd murmur, sitting beside me on the sofa, his thigh brushing mine. That contact, innocent on the surface, seared my skin. Do you want to talk? And sometimes traitorously, miserably I did. I spoke of my fear of aging, my regret over the career I abandoned, the crushing monotony of a life that had slipped through my fingers like sand, and he listened. He absorbed every syllable. Then, with terrifying calm, I would never make you feel that way. To me, you are perfect. You are everything. He was isolating me. Without my noticing, He had become my only confidant, my only constant human contact. He started answering my phone. David called. I told him you were resting. My friend Honor wanted to meet. I said you weren't feeling well. I protested weakly, but a weary, frightened part of me clung to the excuse. Lucas was building a glass cage around us, a hothouse where only this warped truth could grow. And I was learning to breathe its stale air. The tension reached breaking point one stormy night. The power failed and the house plunged into resonant darkness. I was fumbling for candles in the kitchen when his arms slid around me from behind. Not a hug, a claim. His body was solid, burning against my back. I froze, heart battering my ribs like a trapped bird. Let go, Lucas, I said, but my voice came out broken, powerless. No, he whispered against my hair. I can't, not anymore. How long will you make us both wait? He said my name, Elena, like a prayer and a curse. Hearing it from his lips instead of Mom was an electric shock straight to my spine. I'm your mother, I whispered, desperate, but the words felt hollow, crumbling under the weight of his embrace, the thunder of his heartbeat against my back. You're a woman, he said, and his lips grazed the sensitive skin just below my ear. An involuntary primal shudder tore through me from crown to toe. It wasn't pleasure. It was terror, pure animal terror laced with a spark of something so monstrous I nearly collapsed under the guilt. It was the spark of being wanted fiercely after years of being invisible. Please, I begged, no longer certain whether I was pleading for him to stop or to never stop. He turned me to face him. In the dim emergency light, I could only see the sharp outline of his face, the fever-bright glow of his eyes. Tell me you feel nothing, he challenged, voice raw. Tell me I haven't awakened something in you. Tell me you've never wondered, even for a second, and I'll let you go right now. Say it. And there, in the heart of the storm, I knew the unbearable truth I had buried under layers of denial and horror. I couldn't say it, because it would have been a lie. He had awakened me. He had made me feel seen, desired, alive in a terrible, distorted way. It wasn't nothing. It was a hurricane of disgust, fear, pity deep. Aching pity for this obsessed creature who is still my son, and a thin, poisonous thread of something that looked too much like reciprocity. It wasn't love. It could never be love. It was a mirage of love born in the desert of my marriage and fed by his sickness. My silence was the loudest confession I could have given. A choked sound, half triumph, half agony escaped him, and then his mouth crashed against mine. It was the most devastating kiss of my life. Not sweet, not romantic. It was a collision of worlds, a shattering of reality itself. It tasted of salt tears, guilt, stolen innocence, and a future breaking into 1,000 irreparable pieces. I didn't kiss him back, but I didn't pull away. I stood frozen, anchored by the crushing weight of my own complicity. By the fact that I had let the line blur until it vanished entirely, he took my paralysis for surrender. When he finally drew back, gasping, forehead pressed to mine, he whispered the words that still haunt my nightmares. Now you're mine. Finally. At that exact second, the lights flickered back on, harsh and merciless. We sprang apart as though electrocuted.